All right, I want to get right to it, man. Coach Rule called Lincoln Riley a genius. He's very stingy with accolades when it comes to other coaches' acumen. When you look at SC offensively, do you see genius?
Yeah, I definitely see someone that knows how to set up what he wants. I think with his run game, it's very good with the counter schemes and how often and
Told you.
how many different variations they can get to it. I think the passing game, I mean, he's of the air raid, Mike Leach kind of tree. Actually, Mike Leach kicked him out of the air raid because he said he ran the ball too much. Um,
That's
so
true.
a lot of the same concepts though still apply, especially in the passing game. I think one of the big things that Riley does, I want to say it's unheralded because I think a lot of the guys that watch film and see what he does, utilize stuff. But the way he gets to his screens off of his runs, he utilizes those counters and false pulls. Pull in one direction is okay. Back's going left, but you got pullers going right. With now you got a receiver from the slot running the tunnel. So it's a lot of eye candy. They do a lot of pre-snap motion. Obviously, having a young quarterback as they do in Miami, they're going to try to do as many things to dictate coverage and try to identify and dictate coverage. So um, I think he's a very, very good offensive play caller. I mean, you've seen it. I think he has three Heisman quarterbacks under his belt. Has led some prolific offenses at Oklahoma, at ECU. Shoot, I remember him at ECU a little bit, and the offense he created there, and kind of where he got his start and got rolling to get to Oklahoma. So he's a great guy, great coordinator, great play caller, and does a really good job getting his athletes in space, getting his offensive linemen in space too. With that athletic unit they have and doing a lot of different things on the edge.
It's incredible, Rob. Like we haven't talked about this, you and
Mhm.
I specifically, right?
All right.
I told Ravi, I said the cool thing about Riley. He asked me, "Is it complicated?" And I said, talking about Lincoln Riley's scheme, I said it's not really complicated, but it is very sequential, right? He's going to count numbers in the box. He's got
Mm,
he's got counter. He can get to it. He'll run a little dart. You're going to see 20 screens. Then he's going to take his shots over the top once you feel like you have tendency. It
right.
almost sounds like we're watching the exact same guy with what you just said.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like you said, just the different variations in the ways they get to things makes it hard. They'll formation you, they'll spread you out and have guys all the way to the sidelines, kind of like you see with those real wide splits outside the numbers. But also just condense things. So he's a really good coordinator. He's gonna be an interesting challenge with Butler. And you said it like it not being complex. I mean, DB, he literally calls the plays from I would think a note card. It isn't, you know, he he's not trying to be big brain
He's
guy
not
with
he's
with
not
the
McVay, right?
no, yeah, he ain't Andy Reid with the whole Denny's menu worth of plays on there, right? He has his set formations. He's gonna do what he does throughout the week or throughout that game that week, and it's successful for them.
So
So,
go ahead.
real quick, MRI, before we get into the nitty gritty of Lincoln Riley and USC, the reason I asked that is because it seems like a lot of times at the college level, especially, that the best offensive minds like run pretty simple things. Is that an overgeneralization that I'm making, or do you find that to be kind of accurate?
I won't say an overgeneralization, but I'll say it's a generalization. I think it comes in all shapes and sizes,
Okay.
as far as what now. I think there's two ways to go about it. You can have something that's simple, or you can have something that's complex, and do you have the capabilities to make it simple for your players?
Mm.
And that would be the difference. That's why I wouldn't say it's generalization, because I do agree with you that simplicity does often breed the most success. But as you face more competition, some things do need to get a little bit more complex. And you complex is nothing other than maybe a different formation. Maybe we're putting the receiver in a different spot in the formation, things like that. So no, I would agree. I would tend to agree with that statement of Robbie.
Let me ask you something, MRI, because I think we hear counting numbers in the box, and I think sometimes fans may be like, duh. Even sometimes coaches are like, duh.
All right.
It seems like the game within the game for their offense, why they're so efficient moving it from the 25 to the 20 is it's not just counting numbers in the box. It's the two or three different things that they can do out of the same look with the same numbers in the box. If you agree with that, and it's kind of a guessing game defensively, what's the key? How are you teaching your guys from a fundamental and reading your keys standpoint to not fall in love with the eye candy? Because a lot of it looks the same.
Right, a lot of it does look the same. I think the big thing, especially at the second level, you're gonna almost compartmentalize the run fits along with the RPO stuff that they do. Meaning, think about you've done like half line stuff, pass, half line run, where hey, these guys are responsible for the counter going into the boundary. These 3 to 4 guys are responsible for the tight end going to the flat or the bubble
Oh,
screen or anything like that going out there. So I think the big
hold on right
yeah.
there, MRI. So when you're talking about half line for our listeners, you're literally only talking about
Center to the one direction.
half line, right? Like,
Oh my goodness. Who gave
right?
him a board and a marker?
I'm just
I,
saying.
I thought you had breaking news. I thought it was on the dotted line for
No,
real already.
breaking news is later, buddy.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I just want to make sure that we know what we're
Right,
talking about when we
right,
say half line, all right?
right. Yeah,
So literally just half the line. You can work it to the field or to the boundary. Make
right,
sense?
correct. Yep,
Okay.
correct. And
All
you're
right,
and
got
you're
you.
focusing and compartmentalizing those run fits. Even the fits on the outside on those bubbles and RPOs, you're still treating it like it's a run fit, right? How the corner's going to leverage it, how the safety's going to come out the roof, and then how we're going to get an inside out fitter from the box or maybe from an alley player. So, I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't want to get caught up with the eye candy, then you got to be locked in on your keys, and that's going to be important for the second and third level. A lot of pre-snap movement and post-snap movement. Butler specifically talked about the slashes of the tight ends, the things they do in the run game with them. Shoot, they'll run counter with just the 2 tight ends pulling. Like they feel
Yep.
very comfortable with those 2 guys being blockers inside, whamming and wedging out, nose tackles and tackles. So it's going to be very interesting. I think they're going to have their hands full at the second, third levels as far as their eyes and being disciplined and making their feet match where their keys are going.
Okay, so let me ask, I don't think I can. I need an eraser. I don't want to
It's
get
on the
messy.
end of the.
So
Nope. The end. There you go.
MRI, you're talking about using counter with just tight ends, and explain the degree of difficulty, if you can, with words when you see all down, 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 down away from you, and you get pull, wrap, kick to you.
Say that one more time, that last
So,
part.
so you see down, 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 down with the O
Right.
line, and then you see wrapper, kicker with 2 tight ends coming back to run counter. So everything looks down.
So 4
Coming
down.
back looks like kick, crease.
For me, it just depends on like the vision. Like even at linebacker, I remember Madden had that quarterback cone vision. Some guys are real small, some guys are Peyton Manning, you can see the whole field. It's kind of the same way at linebacker. Like if your vision is good enough in the peripherals where you can feel, because the thing where that becomes a challenge is that those pullers are now coming from outside the box per se, instead of it being the guard and tackle or the guard and center or both guards, right? So that's in my immediate triangle. If we're talking about linebacker reads, where I'm keying through the guards, through the guards to the center, then to the backfield kind of thing. So the, you have to be able to treat that just as the tackle or guard is pulling from that side. But again, the vision just has to expand. The vision has to be a little bit wider to be able to see and feel that and know how they're rocking back. Now, when you look at Nebraska, how they fit a lot of like tight end movement, it seems like it's been not a lot of rocking back and working with the tight end, more so my gap, my fit, and a lot of things they're doing, which has its benefits, right? Everyone's having should have a gap, but again, we talk about some of the inconsistencies with gap integrity up front. That's where you get into more of a problem where I think I was talking about in my breakdown of the game with Shavers, just seeing more of a stack of their blocker, stack of their defense alignment, and then attacking, so that way they can eliminate those gray areas that they're kind of getting from the D line. So I see it more as a vision thing, being able to open your vision, seeing those guys. But going into the game, especially if Butler's talking about in the press conference, it's something that's in their scouting report that's going to be a key for them. So I expect their backers to be more on a string, as we would say, be on a string with the tight end to be able to fit off of him and fit off of those down blocks. But also too, right? They could down block everybody else, right? Run that same type of concept to the boundary or to the field either way, but then slip out those guys they just blocked down to the receiver. Now you got a screen, and that's the that's the creativeness that Riley brings to his offense that keeps a DC up because he's a it's gonna be chess, not checkers. So Butler's gonna have to be ready for those type of things.
You got to see. This is just me. I'm not spilling much of anything given the opportunity. I'm going to try to box most everything against these guys. Just how I would probably scheme it to the naked eye. What do you think?
I'm a little, I don't know, I'm a little on the other side, I would say, because it depends formationally. If they're gonna spread you out, what I don't want to get is our outside guys get cut off from the run fit. With a lot of the gap and counter stuff. Um, I think there's some merit to it in some different coverages,
Could,
right?
could I
Obviously,
could
if
I
it's
could
like
I say this? Could I box for insides and spill for safeties?
I would like it the other way. If you're gonna just because of the horizontal stretching that they're gonna have formationally, we're gonna have to get the ball out to those guys. Now, if we had, this is where okay, DB, this is where again I think you understand this scheme matching personnel. If we're gonna force, we gotta have guys up front that can hold points.
Yep.
If we spill it, we can have a chance because even if we do get reached, the ball is supposed to go where it's supposed to
Outs-
go,
It's supposed to go outside.
outside. So and you understand that, right? That's the meeting that we have every Sunday. Like, hey, we every Sunday, right? We know we want to do this. Do
Yeah.
we have the Jimmys and Joes to do that?
Yeah.
No, then we have to do this. So I think it's gonna be, I think they're gonna box, or I think they're gonna box. I don't know. I'm interested to see what the results are. Let's just say that because
Yeah.
they really, like you said, the simplicity of the offense, especially for I think you talked about it maybe yesterday or the day before, the simplicity of the offense for the offensive line in this type of scheme. It's not a lot on them, right?
No.
We're
No.
down
Yeah,
blocking left to right.
that was yesterday. I was
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah,
that.
we're down blocking left to right. Somebody's pulling. Everyone can pull. They're all athletic. I think, shoot, all of them are about 6'4" and above. Like they can move. So and it's more of leverage than mauling. And I think that's where it's just been an issue for the upfront. And that's where the biggest matchup I see with how do they handle holding their gap while taking on those down blocks and those combos.
So I'm a little I okay. I don't know how to just like put everything out there to understand in like a 15-minute segment. So I'll try to keep this with just basic, super basic. If we think that discipline has been an issue with fundamentals, which
Hmm.
sometimes lack of discipline does get away from Nebraska, and I think it hurts them in their run fits. Don't you like? It's not a leading question. Do you prefer a team? Do you prefer this defensive front see a team that positions and leverages or mauls? Which
Position
one?
and leverage for sure.
Okay, so that's how SC plays. That's why
Hmm.
I think they can box it. You're just leery because they haven't been good at the communication up to this point. Is that what?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's accurate.
So go
But
ahead. You can elaborate on that. I don't
no,
want to
no,
just
no,
get
no,
too.
no, no, no. I think that's right on. Like again, it's looking at, and we have film of it. They have film of it. What have we been able to do consistently well in those type of situations, and what haven't we? And figuring out again what can we execute 80 to 90% of the snaps, 80% of 90 of the time, 90% of the snaps we get of that certain scheme. I mean, it's gonna be huge. I mean, it's gonna be huge. And I expect them to switch it up. Sometimes, hey, we're gonna get underneath that first puller, try to get that second puller, get a back over top free, and now we got a free hitter, which they're gonna need. These backs are really, really good,
Man,
So I think it's gonna be tough. The tackling space is gonna be a thing. They don't necessarily just hit the hole really, really fast, right? They're good with being patient, kind of playing the leapfrog, hey, sitting back behind their offensive lineman and kind of hitting. So it's gonna be a tough matchup for that front seven.
MRI, you were talking earlier about the eye discipline versus what USC is showing in different looks. Talk to me about the differences of how that works with being in the primarily man coverage that Nebraska likes to be in versus zone coverage where you don't necessarily have to chase things and can kind of just watch things play out in front of you. Is one easier versus the other for the eye candy portion of everything and staying disciplined on that?
I think I think it's obviously more. I don't want to say easier, but I think it's less difficult because you're locked in on one person per se, maybe one gap. When you get a lot of pre-snap motion, obviously zones have to shift over, right? So if we get something coming 2 by 2 starting to the field, then motions to the boundary. Now we got our flat players got to get outside the new number 2, and our hook players got to get to 3. So it's just a shift in a position. So I think man lends you to be technically be more aggressive, but when you do get to those single high coverages, and this is one thing as someone that you know, big Nick Saban guy, middle of the field close, cover 3, yada yada yada. You play enough of that in high school against a running quarterback and someone that can add a third person to the run in the backfield. And it's like, well, shoot, we're actually down one person because our safety's in the middle of the field. You know, you're not as gapped out or maybe can get that presence of that second safety like you would in quarters, right?
This is incredible.
You know, and that's where again, that's the schematics of it all and trying to figure it out. So I do agree that, I would say that man coverage is easier. I don't want to say easier. There's less difficulty in fitting in the run and knowing your assignment in man, but also it lends you to being gapped out. And not even just let's not take out quarterback run. Think about these gap counter schemes you're getting. You're technically getting 2 guards or two guys on the left side post snap getting to the right side. So talking again about numbers, right? We're talking numbers. We're adding 2 guys to the side of the run, and again, you kind of get down one guy, and your leverage may be off on that backside line, and that's how they hit a lot of their big plays on counter.
It's
Is cutting off
100% how they hit it.
cutting off that backside linebacker, and a lot of people think, hey, we play man, my man might fit. You should be going with the guards. Well, how the angles shift when you're in man in comparison to zone, where you got 3 guys in the block box and not 2, because how they formation you. That's where that's where I get scared with that's where the boxing and spilling kind of
coming down
makes me nervous.
coming down. I'll just say this. There's 2 things in this. Coming down from the second and third levels away from the strength of the run, i.e. cutback, will be critical.
Yep.
If you lollygag or you're not in a backside run fit
And squeezing down hard,
you will get creased. The other thing that's funny, listening to you say this, you'd fit right in on our staff. We're trying. No, I'm dead serious, and I can say this in lay terms for the Nebraska fans for Saturday. Running quarterbacks versus non-running quarterbacks, right? We're playing a team who's got an interesting quarterback situation. So we're looking at all their Wildcat stuff, the quarterback run game. Do they want to throw it? To get our head coach on board with how we want to play this, and he literally just said yesterday, listen, I get the whole gapped out thing, Damon. I don't want to be gapping guys out from the second level. This player in particular will hit that crease before us. And I'm saying, no, like he's got to, it's the window's open. We can fit it. And he's just not, you know what I mean? So it becomes a philosophical thing about where you want to gap guys out from.
Right.
So if you play, you're talking cover 3, middle of the field closed. When Nebraska plays too high, this just layman terms, one of those 3 secondary guys is going to be a backside run fitter. Some guys aren't always comfortable with that, depending on what coverage you play. So your coverages have to marry your run fits. So because we're really quick as a fan base to say, oh, that safety did this or that linebacker did that. But it happens in sequence. You weren't going to let me get away, and this may be the old linebacker in you. You weren't going to let me get away with saying, Well, you got to fit better on the second and third level without getting the squeeze part in from the D line, right?
Yep, yep. Hey, look, we all work together. We all work together. I need you to be successful so I can be successful.
Yeah, like that's the thing when people look at Nebraska's run defense, where they kind of, and they're not dumbing it down. They just don't know enough about what they're saying when they make like these sweeping judgments. Like it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
Because that MRI answered that exactly opposite of what I was expecting for the man versus zone thing. Because my thought is like, okay, if I don't have to chase a guy, it's easier to keep my eyes where they're supposed to be. Like that. Like that's what I would.
Did you hear the L word he used?
For sure. Yeah.
What did he say? What L word?
On which
leverage.
Leverage. Yeah. But
MRI.
Yeah, that's what it gets to. Yeah.
On Nebraska's big runs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know the answer. I'm curious. On Nebraska's big runs versus how they're fitting in the run game, how many times would you say it boils down to leverage?
I say every time. It wasn't, I don't think on any of those, and we've seen times where maybe they're not holding a point as great as you would like, but every time it's been someone's either overran their leverage
they either
or
motion
gave up.
to it and we trail it, or we don't see it fast enough. You want to leverage the ball, not the block.
But I think we talked about it Cincinnati, and I did not think it'd be that big of a point of, I don't want to say weakness, but just a target for Nebraska's defense was running back to that nub side, going back to that corner side. I think it goes back to
you're talking about putting the corner in the run fit.
Yeah, putting the corner in the run fit. Yeah,
yep. They keep that in conflict.
Yeah, they keep them in conflict, and you'll see a lot of that with USC. I was just looking at last night. They're not as big of a mid and outside zone like Nebraska's seen. Wouldn't be surprised they saw a little bit of it just because that's been the flavor.
Neither was Michigan, and so if it's a copy, you're smart. If it's a copycat league, SC will look at some stuff Michigan does, but Riley is smarter than those guys, and they beat Michigan, so maybe he's just going to do what he does. Because Michigan didn't come in as a big outside zone team either.
Yeah, I could see that. And there's an arrogance that comes with kind of being that type of play caller. I could definitely see him saying, "Hey, we'll still run to your corner," but I think it's even tougher because now you got a big body out there on that corner. If you're getting that, then now we can do some stuff where we're getting a tight split with the number one receiver. Getting those guards and stuff out there, even just not even on the runs, but on the screens and stuff like that. It's gonna be a physical game for those outside guys. As much as we see the skill set that these receivers have on the outside, it's gonna be a physical game taking on big guys out in space. I know it's gonna be something they definitely probably drilled this week. Just working on taking on those big guys and using finesse, but obviously at times they got to hold a point and leverage the ball back inside to their free hitters.
Yeah, 9-on-7 looked miserable yesterday. I'm just gonna tell you, and it was cold. Like, it won't be a surprise to them, right? It won't be due to lack of effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, they rep the heck out of it. Let me ask you something. We have picks to click with our radio crew, and I might go from an offensive to a defensive guy. If you were gonna take a guy that's kind of maybe off the radar or on the radar, whatever, that needs to play well against this kind of offense, and you could pick him you could say, yep, Nebraska's going to win the game because this guy has to play well. And he is. Who would that be for you against this offense?
Keeping the status quo, our DBs are going to, do what they do against the DB or the receivers. I would say it has to be somebody at the front 3 to 4. It has to be someone on the inside, possibly. I saw a lot of Van Poppel last week. He did some good things. You know
how smart he is. He's a guy that I look after the games, and I try to give him a hug. I go meet him in the pavilion. He's an MRI guy, total team player, really good natured. He spent 4 or 5 minutes, because his his side, he's a little tender, right? My man was walking me through the difference between playing in twos and feeling pressure versus having enough discipline to not say, hey, can I get in a one? It feels a little different.
Right.
He's so aware of why when he's aligned a certain way, what he feels the way he feels, as like he's always going to give himself a chance.
Yeah,
He's just
I can see
really,
that.
dude, it was a big boy conversation. I was like, I wanted to cry and ask if he wanted to come home with me. Like, do you know what it's like to get that from a defensive guy where he's talking about what pressure feels like on a double
Yeah,
or getting scooped or reached based on what technique he's in and what feels easier to him? That's
right.
a guy that understands football.
Yeah, I think a guy like him, really the biggest thing, especially when you're facing teams with like counter, we can talk about the edge all we want, but the edge becomes irrelevant if that three technique or whoever that interior D lineman to that counter cannot at least either create penetration in that B gap or hold a point versus that double combo that comes down with the tackle.
You just got to be
And
unself. You got to be unself.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see who they mainly put in those spots because that's a big focal point. I mean, if that guy can do some disruptive things or hold a point, that gives your backside linebacker an opportunity to get over the top of the combo. And now he is inside that second puller. Now we got a two on one on the running back in those situations. So I think it has to be come from a defensive line spot. I think some no, I know they're gonna need some havoc plays, tackle for losses, in those type of situations. It's got to come from those interior guys. I think the corners they'll be challenged. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of space. I think the biggest thing, like I said, getting them in the run fit and having the fit on the screen is gonna be big. So I'll be interested to see how they handle that duality of their responsibility this week. But it's got to be someone that's whoever's lined up in that 1 and 3 majority of the game or in those four eyes. They got to make some plays and they got to help other guys make plays by doing their job really well.
That is our guy, Michael Rose-Ivey.
Mm,
Incredible stuff as always.
Can
MRI.
I ask one more question?
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
I want everybody to learn at the same time. So, MRI, is there any advantage like do you see to a matchup? You know how good number 6 is in the slot and things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you would you and I'm not necessarily talking about split coverage, but would you let if you like the matchup, like let's say right on Lemon or
Hmm.
whatever, or maybe a boundary guy you like a matchup and you say, okay, you do you.
Right.
Would this be a game where you would maybe get out of the norm and kind of specialize and say, all right, you've got that. We're gonna now use him. We're gonna take him out of the +1 and utilize him like this to keep you safe. Is there a place where you would maybe gimmick or game the system because you like the matchup to get another set of eyes someplace else? Or would you just play it?
I'm a big believer in if there's 7 gaps and I can play it with 6 guys, especially against a team like this, let's do it. But then it goes back to who do we got doing covering those 6? And that again, that's the questions that keep us in the Sunday meetings away from our wives and away from Sunday night football a lot longer. So I I would always I'm a pat, and this is a maybe it's a Bo Pelini philosophical thing I took it from, but always been a pass to run guy. Meaning always your pass covers either regardless man or zone.
You
So
stop
going
you
back,
stop the run on en route to getting to the quarterback.
well, not necessarily that. I mean, that could be a mentality for the line, but just in terms of the whole defense, that our pass coverage because we played so much man match, so it was dang near man. So you're fitting almost like man, but you still have zone principles. So if we can do that, we're playing splitting the field four
Yeah,
over
but you
three,
guys
three
would
over
two
two,
gap up. I mean, you cheated. You
and
gamed
that's
the
what I'm saying.
system.
You have to
You
you
could
have
two
to
gap
you
up front.
yeah, right, and that's where again if you have a guy that can take on 2 of those gaps. Now I got 6 guys that can play 7 gaps with one guy playing 2. Now I mean, technically numbers are evened out. It's 7-7, and now I can be able to play on the back end. So I'm all for that. But again, it's who do you got up there that's doing it? Now, you can do that also from the front you use. If you're in a tight front, right, you're taking away the B gaps, you know it's the A and the C gap that you got to cover. You can dictate the fits a little bit better than that. So, I mean, you'll see that. They got a lot of that versus Illinois and Michigan, too. A lot of bare fronts, things that are closing out the B gap. So, not something that they haven't seen, not something Nebraska also hasn't done. So, I think that'll be another match within itself if both teams can obviously handle what both have seen and execute at a high level.
Hey, Michael, real quick, one thing kind of less football-y than some of the other questions today, but I'm just kind of curious as somebody who wore the black shirt, having that blackout game, like what, I guess first, what did it just kind of mean to you to have that and to see that energy not just be translated to the defense, but when you get the blackout, it kind of gets to the whole team.
I think it's awesome. You know, I won't I won't lie. When I first saw the uniforms, like, man, they're not, they're decent. You know, what I mean, it wasn't for me. They're not for me, and that's something I can always appreciate. I know, fans, everything is kind of for them and for us, but it's for the players. So it's cool that they get to experience that. I'm more excited about the atmosphere that the uniforms and more importantly the performance. Because if we're not 6-2, if we're 4-3, I don't think a lot of energy may have gone into all this. You know what I mean? So I think the performance of the guys allow for this opportunity to happen as well. So I think it's cool to see all that, see the energy around it, the buzz around things like 60 plus recruits. A big win would, hopefully lock in a couple of those guys. Um, Maybe I'll push $1 or 2 to the NIL to really get them over the hump. But it's gonna be a great atmosphere. That's the coolest thing. Just I wish I could be there. Um, but yeah, it's just gonna be a great atmosphere for everyone to enjoy. Hopefully everyone wears black and just embrace the environment, embrace the opportunity for the guys that they can go out and get a win versus a ranked opponent.
Mm.
There you go. That's our guy, Michael Rose-Ivey. MRI, great stuff as always. We appreciate it every week, man.
No problem. I know you guys are doing the live show tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I will be very disappointed if I wake up at 6:50 and DB is not dressed as undercover brother.
Man, man, leave me alone.
I want the full wig and the medallion with the open button shirt. I know you still got it in your closet.
Oh, see, that's why we can't have nice things. Always good, Emma. I appreciate you letting me.
Man, appreciate you guys. Enjoy your Thursday.